You are listening to Wicked Psychotherapists, a podcast where two psychotherapists show you that taking care of and learning about mental health doesn't have to be wicked hard.
Hey guys, it's Tanya.
Hey, it's Erin, and welcome to Wicked Psychotherapists.
So we've been off for a couple of weeks. Erin, maybe you want to kind of just, let everybody know listening what was going on. Erin's decided to share a very private moment to let people know what's been going on. So, Erin, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I figured I probably should share because we post the videos and people would probably notice. I have a scar on my neck. I had to have my thyroid removed. I found out that I had thyroid cancer because of my past history of breast cancer. Thankfully, my doctors scan me for everything all the time. So thankfully, it's been a good recovery. But I wasn't sure how I would be able to talk and stuff. So I told Tanya, let's take a couple weeks off in case I don't have a voice or it hurts to sit up. I'm glad I did take the time off because I wasn't able to sit up or do anything for the first week. It was kind of like my neck was tired after a couple, like a little bit. But I am good. Started seeing clients last week after I got clearance. And yeah, I'm back. Glad to be back. And glad to be doing this today with you.
Yeah, we're all glad to see you healthy and well and happy that you had a good recovery and that we can continue this. But yeah, definitely happy that it was a good outcome. So, and we know people are wishing you well on the continued recovery and everything. We needed some time off so Erin could recuperate and glad that she did. So we thought it would be nice to come back and start with another Adam Sandler movie. A few weeks back, we said, don't worry, we're breadcrumbing you there. And you're back with another Adam Sandler movie, Grown Ups, which is right now on Netflix and is actually the first and the second one. That's probably a hint for the future for us. But we're just talking about the first Grown Ups today. So we thought this would be an interesting one because Adam Sandler, but also there's a lot of other comedians and comedic forces in there. A lot of big names. We got David Spade, Chris Rock, Rob Schneider, Kevin James, and Salma Hayek. Yeah, she's playing Lenny's wife, which is Adam Sandler's character. And Maya Rudolph is in there playing Chris Rock's wife. I think his name is Kurt in the movie. We just thought this would be a really cool way to reintroduce Adam. So you'll probably be hearing some more Adam stuff going on, as promised. Yeah, let us know if you want us to story away, but I mean, that's where we're headed. Yeah. We enjoy it.
It seems to let us bounce off of different things. I mean, because that's kind of how our mind works. She'll say, we'll be like, okay, well, we like this person, then we'll start doing something else. And the nice thing about Adam Sandler is his whole cast, it's like, oh, let's do some David Spade or let's do some Steve Buscemi, let's try to figure out different things. So then it kind of goes back to him anyway.
Always goes back to Adam. He's the center, our love for this all. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely an air sign way. We're both air signs. You're Gemini, I'm an Aquarius, and that's definitely an air sign thing. That's what we do. We kind of bounce around, but there's a method to our madness, I guess.
You guys get it.
If you're listening, you hopefully like it. It doesn't, but it does to us. Hopefully to you in some way. It makes sense. Okay, so Grown Ups. Admittedly, this is not one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. I was telling you, it's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, I love this. But I do think there are some interesting points to it with the friendship of the five main characters, the five comedians we referred to. They all basically have this tie, like growing up together. It looks like they were all on the same basketball team and won this great championship when they were 12 years old. That's the first opening scene. Their coach is really important in their lives, taught them the value of you play until the buzzer of life strikes you, and was a great mentor stuck in their minds. Was just like one of those moments, I think, where they had that childhood friendship, that childhood mentor, and it stuck with them to the point where they're at modern day in the movie when they are all grown up. You see what they became, and they all learn about the death of the coach. Yeah. Coach Buzzer, was it?
Yeah, they called him Buzzer.
We'll just call him Coach Buzzer.
Yeah,
all right, that works. No, that sounds right. At the crux of it, there's this childhood moment where you see these friends that all care about each other. They're all teammates. They all have a good rapport. They rib each other in that way, but there's love behind that. when they meet up again for the coach's funeral, we see a different character they've become. David Spade, Chris Rock, Kevin James, Rob Schneider, and Adam Sandler. But yeah, I think Lenny who's Adam Sandler, is kind of the main person. He's done like wildly successful as an agent to the stars. He's really well off, and you see that his kids are kind of have really an opposite type of childhood than what he had. He's disappointed by that. He's not super happy about that. Like his kids have like a built-in nanny / maid who they're like, you didn't get me like a Godiva chocolate, and they don't go out and play like he and his friends probably did. 80s, like the Gen X childhood versus whatever Gen Z kind of thing. They're playing video games, they're inside, they're used to getting what they need, they travel a lot, nothing is wanted for I'm not saying Gen Zers are like that, I'm just saying this is his Lenny's kids. And then you start to meet the other characters as well. It seems like Lenny is a little bit around these friends he hasn't seen in 30 years. He's trying to hide how privileged he is and how his kids are, because he's a little embarrassed that he knows he's gotten far away from the life that they all had as kids when the fun they had. Kevin James plays Eric, and he's married to Maria Bello, who I don't know why I know her name, but she's been in some other things, and he's got 2 kids. You know, he's kind of he says he owns a lawn furniture company. He's like playing off that he's all successful. He pulls up in this caddy. Really, we learn later he was just trying to put up a show. He got laid off a few months before. David Spade's character Higgins, he's like the forever bachelor. He's not with anyone. Chris Rock plays Kurt, who's married and has a couple kids on the way. He's kind of the stay-at-home husband. Rob Schneider just plays Rob. He doesn't have another name.
We thought that was funny. It's like, okay, Rob, you're Rob.
You can't be anything but Rob. But he has this, apparently it's like his 4th marriage or his 4th, I don't know if they're married or not, but this woman who's like 30 years his senior. He's very emotional, very in touch with his feelings, and very sensitive, and just kind of doesn't seem to fit in with the whole like ribbing of what they all have. Once they come together, they all just start immediately ragging on each other, and there's like that whole dynamic that they have.
Comfort, even though because it sounds like, because this game happened, like the big basketball game happened when they were in 7th grade. I assume they were friends all through middle and high school, but it just sounds like they are stuck in this, hey, haven't seen you in 40 years. I don't know if they all moved away right after that, or if it's, who knows?
I do have to say, I feel like I have felt this way before somewhat, because I do remember in elementary school, I think we were all just, I don't know what it was. It was a smaller school, and I feel like we all kind of just had this experience together of being in that school. We all knew each other at that time. And I kind of feel like that's something that does stay with you, but it's not maybe something I feel like I could meet up and be like, oh my God, and start up again now. I don't know that.
It's Facebook and stuff. I've had a lot of people that I'm friends with from middle school. Some went to different high schools, and I'm still connected with 1 or 2 people. But then you do, like some of the people like you're in middle school, then you went to high school with. It's a weird thing because middle school is so unique. It's like 3 years of torture. But you do have this weird bond with people that, okay, we survived middle school together. We have this unique experience.
I think you're really being tested as to who you are. Your identity is kind of being formed. I know it gets like really, kind of even more so in high school, but I think that's kind of the seed is planted in middle school and it sticks with you. It sounds like in this movie, and obviously we realize it's just a movie, but I mean, maybe some people do have friendships like this, but it sounds like they would have been more in touch, and maybe they were and we just didn't know it, but that's not the impression.
Yeah, it almost sounded we had fun in our basketball seasons, and then in the summer, and then it just kind of like, did they all just move away? Because even how, I'm skipping ahead, but when the Colin Quinn character in the restaurant sees Lenny and he's like, oh, you gained some weight. And he's like, yeah, since I was 12. I hope I have. That's when I was thinking maybe they haven't seen each other since they were 12, or I don't know.
Maybe these are just things for funny moments, and they just kind of were like, we're not going to think about that. But
we hope 2 people aren't going to analyze this movie to death and talk about it.
Yes, of course, here we are. I mean, it still stands up. For whatever reason, they kind of just had this moment in time, this bond at that point, this coach. And so they're all coming together. Lenny, who's the Adam Sandler's character, rents out this lake house that I guess they used to. Oh, well, you know what? It does say that they used to go up there and get wasted. So that's what David Spade's character Higgins says at one point. I guess maybe they did hang out in high school. Maybe they were kind of. It just didn't really show that many moments, but. Maybe that's just kind of a thing that they didn't really. Maybe that would have been better if they had showed that a couple of scenes from that or something. I don't know why we're in a movie like this.
We need the timeline.
It bothers us. So just like we like the psychosocials and people like gathering things and the details. It's like no, we need to know that this happened or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of like Lenny rents out this really nice lake house for the weekend for everyone, and his wife's Salma Hayek is. A big high-end fashion designer, and she's like, oh, we have to leave for my fashion show in Milan tomorrow, and he's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll have to tell the boys, but you can tell he's like, oh, I kind of wanted to stay here, and they just start to kind of come together, and they start to, their antics are kind of like bringing them back to this side. They miss, instead of just being adults, like in the beginning, Lenny is talking to someone and is like, I'll make sure Brad Pitt isn't in your movie, and he's just got to deal with all this, like, stressors. His kids are kind of removed from having that idyllic child. Instead, they're ordering their maid around and saying they want Voss water and Fiji water and stuff,
Tap.
Yeah. And he's like, what, from the hose? He's never heard of that.
Who do you think I am?
It's just kind of, I think it's about a return to that nostalgia that Lenny is really excited by. He's like, oh, why don't you guys go outside and play? He's excited when he sees him like one of his son with like a rock, and he's like, come on, just skip it, throw it, chuck it at your brother.
Are you picking it up?
Just anything playful.
Do something.
Yeah. Oh, and then in the meantime, the guys are kind of playing they kind of rib each other. There's these hijinks. They rag on Rob Schneider with his grandma girlfriend and how he just seems to be an oddball, very sensitive, but they still love him. They still include him for that. He ends up having 2 quote unquote hot daughters and then one that's like not, but kind of looks more like him. They're like, oh yeah, that one makes sense. And I guess just kind of seeing, it's kind of disheartening to Lenny to see the kids, even Kurt's kids and Eric's kids, because they also have kids, just kind of like they're all inside. They're not really engaging in imaginative play or outdoorsiness. He's just really into, it goes back to that time that he really feels like, wow, when we were all together, that was the best stuff ever. Even though he's like got all this money and he's, probably successful and knows all these famous people and has houses and cars. He wants that. That's the thing that really is important he's seeing. Which is really telling. I think, kind of saying like, well, maybe it's not the best thing. Maybe this is not something that, as a kid, you kind of think, oh, I want to be rich. I want to, do this. But really the stuff you're doing with your friends, the bonds that you're creating, the memories you're creating, that's really the stuff that, kind of makes up life. I think that's the kind of central theme in this, as well as just comedy and them making fun of each other and stuff.
It is like the friendships that the main guys have. And then throughout the movie, you're watching the kids start to have friendships too. At first, it's just a bunch of kids who are a little awkward or strange. Or you see them start having friendships. I was thinking of the Kevin James character's daughter. She's so angry at first because she's probably getting ignored. But you see throughout the progression, she starts becoming really good friends with Lenny's son. You see them holding hands at one point, and they all are developing little friendships.
And it's just nice because it seems like that's what's really missing from Lenny's point of view. They're just playing video games. They get whatever they want, which is kind of their fault as well because they didn't have to raise them like that.
They could have said there needs to be a limit. You can have video games, but it doesn't mean you sit on the couch or own the TV all day.
Or get a maid or a nanny.
Yeah. She's there to take care of you or to help you. That doesn't mean she's going to make your hot cocoa with your Iva chocolate.
I think there was some development in some of the characters too, even with Kurt and Chris Rock and Maya Rudolph. It kind of seems like Maya thinks at one point that Chris Rock is kind of hanging out with the nanny because he learned how to speak Chinese from the cooking channel. She was a little jealous, and he's like, tells her, hey, you're the person I want to be with, and I just want to be with my hot wife or whatever. They reconnect, and there's been some distance between them in that regard. And plus, with him being a stay-at-home dad, it seems like he gets knocked down a peg a few times. There's kind of a little bit of reconciliation in that, I guess. They appreciate each other. Maybe it's not fully developed, but like it's there, sort of.
Well, there's probably always it seems like there's always like a hazing between like the mom and Kurt's wife, Deanna, they're always hazing him for being a stay-at-home dad and cooking badly or planning, okay, we know this meal is going to stink, so I already bought the pizza. Not really realizing like, hey, maybe he was spending all day trying to figure out how to make pumpkin risotto or whatever. So hearing that all the time, it probably does make it difficult, because even how he said, he's like, well, I'm talking to her because I can actually have a conversation. I'm not just being put down all the time.
Right. She'll actually kind of respect me and listen to me. And you definitely kind of see some of that. Even with Rob Schneider's girlfriend, I'm thinking of the car scene where she takes over and starts fixing their car. They turn around. Even with her, she's like, I think there's a lot of love here. She kind of points out all that she sees as a third party, not having grown up with them and being on the outside of this. She is able to point out some things about Rob that she finds annoying, and he had pointed out some things about her. They were able to put some things out there about each other.
He made it seem like, oh, yeah, we talked and we forgave each other. And she's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't think you're this or that. Then when she said it, everyone was shocked because she seemed so sweet and older. But they're like, oh, she gets it. She actually understands.
She's not missing that. She's definitely picking that up. And so she maybe is more present in this, and maybe they are a good fit for each other. And even David Spade's character, when Rob thinks he slept with his daughter, the older one, he's like, you're my friend, man. I wouldn't do that. And kind of saying, I even have standards. I think that was probably a moment to be like, okay, he can be respected for that, even though he's this inveterate bachelor womanizer. He wouldn't do that. So maybe redeemed him a bit. And then with Kevin James, him saying like, I actually got laid off. And then Lenny offers him this business deal. It's this come to honesty about themselves.
Yeah, it's like, well, and then also gives Lenny, Eric, and Kurt the opportunity to work together and to, hey, we're all going to do this together. Figure out how to do this, whatever it was, like car rental business or whatever they were doing.
And it kind of brings them together. I think it was kind of just showing like, hey, I think there's probably a natural maybe feeling of after you get together with friends after, I don't know, 30 or 40 years or whatever it was with them, that maybe there could be a little bit of competitiveness, a little bit of like, oh, maybe I can't show them this. I have to show them just the best of this. Almost like if you go to a reunion, maybe you kind of have that feeling of probably a lot of people to be like, I want to feel really successful and feel like I made something of myself or really show off these points that are really important. And social media too, let's face it. It's kind of like they all saw each other's vulnerabilities. Even though they rib each other, it's done in love and they care about each other. And so I think it really does show from what the grandmother girlfriend, I can't remember her name, what she said, I really see the love there. I think that's what she was pointing to. Like, you all actually really care about each other, even though there's naturally going to be some competition or some feelings of like, I have to put up a front or, be more successful than I actually am. I think that was a nice kind of feeling of like, okay, they actually really do have a pretty good bond. Again, I think that maybe some people can maintain that, and maybe that could be the case. I don't particularly relate to that. I do have some friends that are longtime friends. It's not a group of people, I think, that might be rare, at least from my point of view. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that.
It probably is rare, especially if you've all moved away. Thinking back to a group of friends in middle school and high school, we had a group, but then kind of, it's hard to keep that whole group because everyone moves away. And it's not like everybody's going back to your town at the same time either. So you're not really going to have that opportunity to all see each other. I know myself over the past 30 or, whatever years it's been since high school, it's hard to have this connection with everybody. I might have like one or two I see or talk to. So it's probably difficult. And maybe it is realistic for some, but it is hard.
I think it would be, and I don't know, maybe that basketball game and just who they are as people really bonded them and kept them close. They just really had a love for each other, the friendship, everything like that just kind of kept them together. And maybe the dynamics that all kind of just worked together. But yeah, it seems like they really were friends that wanted to stay friends. They know each other's families, know each other's kids. And like you said, their kids were starting to become friends. They were all able to confront things that were not so easy in their lives to talk about. So that's, I find to be really difficult with anyone, never mind friends from 30 years ago.
Yeah, because they were all hiding
But,
themselves too. Even like Lenny was trying to pretend like he didn't have that much money. Eric is trying to pretend like he had more money than he had. We don't really want to show our true selves, but then all the layers start coming off as you're stuck together and you're living under the same roof for a few days. You do start showing who we really are. Once they did, it's like, okay, how can we do this together? How can we work together and help each other out?
I think that's like a case of friendship that can carry over and pause for decades and come back together. And some people are just so different at that point, or maybe just have moved on or changed so much that it wouldn't work. And then sometimes it just does. I don't know. It looks like it just did in this instance. And then it was interesting because they still engage in some of those childhood hijinks where they're at the water park and they're like, oh, you got to go. We got to beat, so-and-so. I can't think of his name. The one that challenged him.
Colin
Quinn.
Dickie was his name.
Dickie, yeah. Like he's so bitter. He was on the team that lost in 7th grade and he still hangs on to it. It's really defined a lot in his mind because he probably stayed in the same town. He wants to challenge him in every single way, even when they're going on this zip line water slide kind of thing in the water park. And he's like, oh, well, my son's going to go do this. And then his son is like, all right, now I got to, I'm going to do this backwards. And they're kind of competing against each other.
He's like, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it with our feet.
He's like, oh. He's like, I don't really want to do this. Or he's like, how come you kids are? He's like, I got kids. So he goes and then he just crashes into the hut thing or whatever. And then is like in a full body cast. And and so it's this competition that culminates in the end where they're all at the picnic around the lake. Apparently a lot of townspeople or something. And Dickie and his crew, which is Wiley, which is Steve Buscemi in this full body cast at that point, and his like other, I don't know, friends or whatever, that they're like challenging him to a basketball game. Lenny keeps trying to be like, seriously, let's just enjoy our time. He's kind of over it. He's just like, this is ridiculous.
Like, I'm hanging out with my family. Don't really want to have to relive 7th grade.
Yeah. And like we're, 30 years older, so it's real different and stuff. But yeah, and I guess they kind of learned like, oh, we're both exhausted. We really can't do this. And so they send in the next generation. Lenny ends up losing intentionally because he realizes how much it means to Dickie to have that win. And that he's kind of been maybe carrying this loser chip on his shoulder, his whole life.
While the game is playing, he starts watching how the wife is treating him and how, how everybody kind of treats him because he's, probably because he's so angry and also has this loser mentality. And I think Lenny is probably like, okay, what would happen if I don't win? And would this change Dickie's perception of life and how people treat him? It's like you see him start smiling. You see his wife cuddling to him. You see like everyone's kind of a little happier too.
He can finally let that go, that feeling, that narrative that he lost and he's a loser. And also he said maybe it's good that we lost because it's a little bit of humility. We don't always have to win when with all the things that he and his kids have. That's okay.
His kids have this entitlement, and it probably is nice to show them most of their childhood. Hey, it is okay. You don't have to win everything. You're not going to get everything. Try to teach them not to be so spoiled or self-centered.
And the son at the end is like, oh, it's okay. I just need to work harder. He picks up the lesson. You can't win everything just because you want to. You got to work hard. You got to practice
And he just learned how to play basketball like 2 days before. Imagine the chip on his shoulder, like if he did win. It would have been like, oh, I'm the best.
He wouldn't think twice about needing to practice and would just think he could win. And if he didn't win, that would be super devastating to his ego. He'd just be carrying it around his whole life.
Yeah, just in the same small tower.
Yeah. And kind of just focusing on things that really don't, make you bitter, but really don't need to. I think Lenny was like, that cycle needs to be broken for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I think that's the hint in the movie Grown Ups is that, kind of being able to get past some of those things, but also being able to connect with what it is that you need that was really important in kids and being able to pass that on. So that's kind of a healthy passing on of coping skills. It's like the opposite of intergenerational trauma. He's trying to heal it. He's working within it. Yeah. It's a good example
and
of that
and actually he's working on not only his unit, but he's trying to, he's helping Dickie's family, the trauma for that too. And maybe Dickie's friends, Wiley and all those other people too, might be healed as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's very impressive. We don't often get movies where we're usually pointing out where there is some sort of trauma, but it seems like that's kind of a healing or just kind of patterns of self-sabotage and understanding that and being able to grow from it, I guess. Yeah, so it's like we said, Grown Ups 2 is out. It's been out for a while. I think the first one's been out since 2013. The first one was 2010. So these are older movies. That's why we're just talking about them freely again with the spoilers. You know our deal.
If it's a new show, we will say spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. But this one, we're hoping that you realize it's been out over 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
The reason why we often talk about Adam Sandler is because New England is represented. I'm sure it was supposed to be in Massachusetts somewhere, but he did give a shout out to Rhode Island. That stupid scene with the Rhode Island state troopers was ridiculous because they don't have anything else to do.
Yeah. I noticed, I really liked that he was wearing a UMass shirt, and I have a few family members.
And at the end, RI. I was thinking it was for Rhode Island.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So he had a lot of New England he brings in there, which is
representation.
Great. Yeah. So here is the challenge question, or the question that we have at the end. Is there a moment in time that you would want to go back to kind of, maybe relive or maybe do differently in your childhood that involved friendships like this? And I'm not saying you have to get too specific, just, is there something that maybe like a fight with a friend or maybe a friendship repair? Like, do you have a moment that kind of sticks out in your mind?
I would have probably figured out how to keep those friendships from middle school to high school a little better. Because that's a hard, because I did stay with friends, but then, a lot of time, like I had one or two friends went to different high schools, but then the ones that did, some of us found new friend groups, or we'd stay in that same friend group for a little bit, but then shift and find our way back to each other. It wouldn't be as deep all the time because we would have like different friend groups. So maybe the people that I was like really close in middle school, even if we went into different groups, if it would have been a way to keep that friendship, not just surface level.
That's that's interesting. Yeah, because that can be really tough to do looking back. It's so tough at that time. I would have to say something similar. I think maybe just the way I handled not being friends with people or them breaking away from me, those types of dynamics. And again, I know this is like middle school kind of, high school type of stuff, but maybe just in being able to stick up for myself better, but also being able to handle how I handled it, which I think was piss poor, at points for sure. I really, looking back, obviously wish I could have done that differently.
I wish I had self-esteem. That's like a lot of my self-esteem was driven by how I treated and was treated by people. And super anxiety and no self-esteem. I wish I had self-esteem throughout all of middle school and high school. I wish that would have showed up a little bit differently.
I wish I had some self-esteem. Wish I knew what that even was.
Yes, I remember hearing about it and just being like, ugh. My dad used to say, you need to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And I always be like, that's what a jerk. Like, that's so selfish. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I know what he meant. It's hard to understand when you can't even look at yourself in the mirror when you're a little kid. When you're younger, you just hate everything about yourself.
A lot of people say those things, but they don't really teach you how to do that. If you don't have healthy role modeling, how are you supposed to know how to do it? I remember thinking like, how, I don't know. And then you're just like living in the trenches.
I can't even survive. I understand that was probably his way of being like, let me help you, but I'm not going to give you any tools.
Parents don't understand. I think communication is really key. Understanding is probably, as of late, for parenting is stressed. It just wasn't really for maybe our generation and our parents. But all right. So now we hope you enjoyed this return to Adam. We're so happy to have Erin back and that she is healthy and looking good. We're going to return next week with some more Adam and probably stay on this route for a while. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials. We're even on YouTube if you want to see
we have a few followers, so let's get more.
Come on over.
Or subscribers or whatever they say. I'm so old.
I know what you meant. But this was another good one. We will see you next week. In the meantime, don't forget, stay wicked
and keep your mind well. All right, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye, guys.